Central rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Many guests as we roll on, and we start with a pretty special one. He is one of the great coaches in college football history, and like several, big spring game coming up on Saturday, and I'm delighted to welcome into the program the head ball coach from South Carolina, Steve Spurrier. Coach, good afternoon, and appreciate you being with us. It's always good to see you.
Well, Paul, it's good to be with you, and I watch your show occasionally, a lot. In fact, about a week and a half ago, you had Travis Haney on, and I guess Travis is a ESPN, SEC inside guy, but I heard you say that Spurrier and South Carolina had a terrible year last season, and I just want to let you know we had a winning season and won the bowl game. So down here, we don't call that terrible. We call it decent. But I thought maybe you thought we were 2-10 or something like that. But we actually had a decent season.
Well, I'm glad to reclassify the 2014 Gamecock season. Appreciate you watching more than anything.
Well, I watch every now and then. And 15 years ago, we were 0-11 down here. So that's what they refer to as the terrible season.
I understand. Well, what about this year? Will it be significantly better?
Oh, who knows? Who knows? I think we're going to be a little bit better, though. We've hired a new defensive coach to join in with Lorenzo Ward, and I think we're better organized. We're playing a little sharper defensively. Last year we were competitive, and our offense statistically was second best in school history, and defensively we really struggled. We lost some key guys, and for whatever reason we didn't play near like we'd been playing when we were going 11-2 all the time. But we did manage to have a winning season. We were very fortunate to win that game down in the swamp and have a 6-6 record and beat Miami in Independence Bowl. So we turned around what was almost a terrible season into a decent season.
Well, I think I'm just thinking by Steve Spurrier's standards, it was a terrible season. But I do understand.
South Carolina is not called terrible for that.
Okay. Well.
All right.
I'm glad anything else we need to clean up before we move on? I don't want to keep these things hanging out there, Coach.
No, go ahead. I'm ready for all your questions.
Okay.
All right.
I'm glad to hear. The other night you were in Tampa with anything but a terrible team, and that's the women's basketball team. You've done that. You've supported programs wherever you've been in the past. Talk about that experience for you.
Yeah, Paul, I've been watching Dawn Staley's teams ever since she got here, and been going to women's basketball. And I remember sitting underneath the hoop there when about 200 people were in the Colonial Life Arena. And this year I went to our ladies' basketball game against Kentucky, and there was over 18,000 in there. It's unbelievable, packed to the rafters almost. So what Dawn and her team has proven that you can win big, and you can win big at South Carolina. What her team has done, they were number one in the nation for about half the season, went to the Final Four, won the SEC back-to-back. So it gives hopes to all of us other sports that, hey, we're in South Carolina, we got facilities, we got athletes, we can recruit. Let's try to get to the level that our women's basketball team is right now.
No doubt, and it was cool to see both everyone there. I mean, you and Coach Martin, and obviously Ray Tanner. It's the way it should be in college athletics. You're a quarterback. That's the position that we associate you. What's it look like for the Gamecocks as we head toward the season?
Yeah, Paul, we don't have much experience at that position. We signed a young man, Lorenzo Nunez. He'll be here in the summer, and we'll see how he can quickly learn our offense and so forth. But Connor Mitch, a young man's been here a while, Perry Orth, and Michael Scarneglia. We got three that have been rotating this spring. They've all looked pretty good at times. So I think we got a chance to be solid on offense, and a little bit better on defense, obviously. Got some new players also. Got a kid named Quay Lewis that was, I think, the junior college D lineman of the year in one of those services. He's with us now and has been here all spring. And we got several other new players playing defense. So we got hopes that we're going to be a lot more competitive next year.
You mentioned the defense, and in fairness, there were a number of games that the Gamecocks had won, and then at the end, and I don't need to remind you, you're the head coach, it just fell apart. With a new coordinator, someone you're very familiar with in Hoke, what do you see changing?
Well, hopefully we can get lined up, and hopefully we tackle and play harder and play smarter, be in position, just fundamentals. Again, we did play a lot of young guys back there, a lot of freshmen and so forth. So it was a combination. Guys hadn't played very much, and we just didn't play very well. But we believe we're on the right track, and offensively we need to get better also. There's a lot of things we could have done better last year at times. So, but again, Paul, I am proud of our team for winning 3 of the last 4. We had statistically the worst defense in the history of the school down here. We gave up about 30 points a game. So to go 7-6 and win a bowl game and sort of be one of 3 teams in the nation that have won 4 straight bowl games, sort of neat for us. So we're not in the dumps as much as you'd like for us to be.
You created a bit of a stir before the bowl game when asked about how long you intended to stay at South Carolina. A few days later, you came back and amended your comments. Where are you right now on the future?
Yeah, Paul. You know, I was hoping you'd ask me that, because I was going to ask you how long do you plan on staying in your job. I think you and I are close to the same age.
Actually, we're about 11 years apart, but that's okay.
Are we?
We just look the same age.
Oh, okay. I thought you were in your 40s when you were writing all those articles down in Birmingham. Okay, but well, let me ask you this. When was the last football coach to resign, retire, because he just said, I've done it long enough? Who was the last one to do that?
Not many.
Not many. Barry Alvarez comes to mind as maybe the last coach to do that. Tom Osborne did it, but there's not many. I remember talking to Frank Broyles when I was 48, and we were at the College Football Hall of Fame dinner in New York. We were at the same table, and I said, Coach Broyles, now, what age were you when you hung it up? And he said, I was 51, I think, 51 or 52. And I said, gosh, I'm going to be 52 in 4 years. And he said, yeah, but he said, Steve, when I came along, I was an assistant 10 years, a head coach 20 years, and we weren't making the money you guys are making now, and I could become the athletic director, make the same amount of money, and sort of play golf all the time. So he said, if I was making what you guys were making, you know, I might have hung around a little bit longer. But it is hard to just say, hey, I've had enough. What else are you going to do? What else gives you some thrills in life that what we have here? And I do have an excellent staff. Hopefully it's not too stressful. But I will admit, last year we lost 4 out of 5 in the middle of the season, and somebody asked me how much longer, and I said 2 or 3 years, whereas I've been saying 4 to 5 years, I think, since I was 55. And so that's just a common answer all the time, 4 to 5 more years, because you need to say that for recruiting. And I really think I feel about the same now as I did 10 or 15 years ago. So I'm keeping that 4 to 5 year answer going now.
So, I mean, not to belabor the point, but you feel comfortable with committing that far ahead?
Well, I've been doing that. I've been doing that ever since I was 55.
Okay.
You know, it's always interesting, the age thing. I remember Jack Nicklaus one time when he was in his 20s. He said, I won't play golf into my 40s. And all of a sudden he became 40, and he could still play. But there was a perception, you know, in the old days, you don't do things once you get in your 60s and 70s and things like that. And nowadays, with nutrition and exercise and this, that, and the other, people can live very similarly between age 50 and 80 if they have good genes, a workout program, nutrition, all that kind of stuff.
Could you see yourself coaching beyond the mid-70s?
I'm going to use the 4 to 5 years. 4 to 5 years. I need to stick with that, like I've been saying about the last 15 years.
Well, I'll tell you this, as someone who's known you a long time and has admired you, you certainly haven't lost your game. I mean, you're as feisty this afternoon as you were when I first met you in Gainesville.
No, I tell you what, we had a little disappointment last year. Losing some games the way we lost them makes you stop and think, do you need this? I had some buddies say, man, you look stressful over there. And I said, well, trying to hang on to a 2-touchdown lead the last 4 or 5 minutes has been stressful this year. And we couldn't hold on to a lot of them. But we won some close ones, too. We're not the only team that lost some close games. So to go 7-6 and have a bowl victory when we just didn't have quite as strong a team as we've had in the long run was not too bad.
You've always been a great ball coach and play caller. That seems like you're stepping a little bit away from that. Where are you on that right now?
Well, sometimes when you're struggling, the Green Bay coach, McCarthy, he says he's given up play calling. He's been a play caller his whole life. I'm sort of going to predict he'll get back calling them next year. A lot of times where the head coach and you watch these other head coaches sort of delegate it out, and it's not going very well, and you get mad at yourself. When I call a play, it doesn't work, Paul, I sort of get mad at myself. And I think, well, maybe somebody else could call it better than I can. And so you give, some of your assistants, you delegate out a little bit, and then it starts going bad with them, and then I say, hey, let me take back over. So in the bowl game this year, I called the whole last 3 quarters, so I'm ready to call the game. I just sort of delegated out a little bit, thinking that's what head coaches are supposed to do. But I really believe, for me personally, calling the plays is what works best for our team.
It's easier to blame yourself, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what happens. You blame yourself when it doesn't go very well. So you think, well, I'll delegate it out and I can spend time on this, that, and the other. And I'd rather spend time trying to coach the offense and the quarterbacks and coordinating it and calling a good game.
I want to close. You're just maybe a year or two older than the man that Monday night won the national championship for Duke. You coached there. That was one of the all-time great combinations, Coach Spurrier and Coach Krzyzewski. What do you remember about those days?
Yeah, I was asked earlier about that, Paul, and I was actually there as an assistant coach when Coach K got hired in 1980. That goes back a little bit. And anyway, we would play half-court basketball in Cameron. Basketball coaches, of course, Coach K, gosh, we were all about 34, 35 then. We'd all play against each other and so forth. But Coach K, if you weren't on his team, you couldn't win. You couldn't win. He would go in and shoot, and if he ever missed, a foul. And nobody could argue with him because he was the only head coach out there. The rest of us were all just assistants. But he was tough to beat in those half-court games. Couldn't beat him.
Pretty amazing record, 5 national championships.
Yeah, he's really one of the best all-time coaches. He's proven that. And there was something on the news earlier today that the great coaches won it all this year. The UConn coach, I can't pronounce his last name. How do you pronounce it?
Auriemma.
He's won a whole bunch of them. Urban Meyer's won. Belichick won it. Popovich, San Antonio. So the big-time coaches are winning, and some of them we're all up there in our late 60s and so forth, a lot of us. So I don't think age determines your win-loss record.
No doubt. Coach, it's always great to talk. Thank you for the time, and I hope to see you soon.
Okay, Paul, no matter what you say, I still love you, okay?
Same here.
All right.
Same here. I'm glad we were able to settle that on the program.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Michael is next up.
Yeah, Paul, looking at the situation between Kentucky and Alabama now, Kentucky hasn't hired too many black head coaches. Now, here's Avery Johnson coming to Alabama. He's saying he will take the one-and-dones like Kentucky has done. The guy's got NBA experiences, and he's got connections. I don't know why the blue-chip players wouldn't come to Alabama at this point. But being one of your oldest callers on your show from back in the WERC days, I'm surprised that you hadn't figured out you don't poke the tiger in the cage, and that's what I'm talking about, Steve Spurrier. You have poked this guy, you have offended him, and you know what happens when he gets motivated, and you didn't do anybody a favor. And I just, I ask that you don't do that again. I know you're trying to portray what he did last year, and, yeah, it was a dismal season, but, he's the one guy you don't do that to, and you did it. And so, I just ask you don't do that again.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
We're delighted to welcome in the new head basketball coach at the University of Alabama, Avery Johnson, introduced 3 hours and 40 minutes ago in Tuscaloosa. And Coach, you've gone from being an ESPN analyst to a coach. I imagine you like the new classification.
Absolutely, Paul. I'm extremely excited to be the new head coach of the University of Alabama men's basketball team. We're excited. It's a new chapter, a new challenge, and I just can't wait to get on the floor and get this thing turned around.
I noticed already at the press conference, Coach, you had to dump all those TV ties that you buy at the high-end stores for that Alabama tie. You going to take that one off, or are you going to go back to some of your old flashy ties?
No, that's funny. I'm going to wear my Alabama ties most of the time. I like my Alabama ties. You know, they're the ones that's paying the bills right now.
They are.
But I had a great run at ESPN. Obviously, you know, share with them how much they mean to me. You know, all of those guys, John Wildhack and Mark Gross, and the folks that I was on with on Countdown, Jalen Rose and Doris Burke, and just a whole team of people. And I had a chance to spend some time on the SEC network and have some special assignments. But I've embraced this opportunity of this men's basketball team here at the University of Alabama Crimson Tide. I think it has a tremendous potential, and that's why I accepted this challenge.
Coach, there was a lot of speculation last week, and all of a sudden things changed. A very high-profile coach decided to stay where he has been very successful, as you well know. When did you first get the indicator? Coach Battle actually indicated today that someone sent him a message that you would be willing to talk. Give us the scenario. How did it happen?
Well, I just think first when Alabama decided to make the change with their basketball program, I kept it on my radar. And whatever colleges from the Power 5 conferences, if they made a change, you know, I was just trying to stay abreast of their situations because just in case I got that phone call from an athletic director, I wanted to be prepared. Coach Battle, even when they first started this process, he had no clue that I would even entertain the idea of being the basketball coach. So when he got an idea, he gave me a phone call sometime, I guess, towards the middle of last week. We had a nice talk on the phone, and he asked, you know, would I want to meet in person? And I said, only if you're really serious about the job. He said, we are. And, he flew to Dallas and met with me, and the rest is history.
Your son, as we discussed about a month ago, plays for Texas A&M. Certainly you're not going to try to recruit him to Alabama, are you?
You know, he's stable right now. He's stable. Coach Kennedy has done a great job with that program, and he's looking to get some more playing time and get in the rotation and get some minutes. But as we speak today, he's stable, and I need to continue to stay focused on what I'm doing as the new head coach.
I'll mark that officially down, Coach, as a non-answer. And by the way, I'm sure even Coach Kennedy could understand if Avery Jr. decides he wants to be closer to the family. But let me talk about your message today. I mean, you didn't back away from it. You talked about Duke. You talked about the Final Fours. You talked about closing putting up fences around Alabama. For those who didn't hear it, a synopsis of what you're going to sell recruits on in the coming days.
Yes, that's something that we talked about. Trying to make sure we secure, Alabama, which has a wealth of talented young men and some terrific families that we would love to be a part of our campus environment. Sure, we are going to recruit nationally. We have some kids on the national circuit and kids that are trying to contact us now, and we want to be able to recruit kids that Alabama hasn't been able to recruit in the last 10 years. So yes, we're going to get out there, we're going to recruit, we're going to be in play with a lot of these kids, but we definitely want to take care of our home base first, which is the state of Alabama.
Coach, you can't talk about Alabama without mentioning football, and I am curious, did you have any conversations with Nick Saban prior to accepting this job in relation to the atmosphere there and what role, if any, he can play in helping you?
Not prior to taking the job, but we did have a 30-minute conversation prior to my press conference today, and it was great. He's heard a lot about me. I've heard a lot about him. We met years ago on a vacation, but I got a lot of respect for Coach Saban, and I really want to try to leverage what he's done with the football team to help our basketball program. People always talk about, well, Coach, you're going to be in Coach Saban's shadow. wherever we are, whether it's the shadow, in front, or in back, it doesn't make a difference. He and I talked about becoming partners so that we can not only make basketball better, but it's going to be a win-win for the whole university and also for the state of Alabama. So I have my own track record and resume. There's nothing intimidating about being around the football program or any of their coaches. I embrace them. I had a chance to meet with Coach Lane Kiffin. We've crossed paths before. So Coach Saban has allowed me to come and visit practice later today. So I'm going to embrace the Roll Tide football team. And I think it's going to be good for us to monetize that relationship in basketball.
Coach Avery Johnson, just introduced earlier today at Alabama. Many thanks, Coach.
Okay, thanks.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Rich is up next in the ATL. Hey, Rich.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
Hey, great interview with Wojo. He's tremendous, and he made a great point about when that place is dry, it favors the long hitters. Because, you know, the par fives are the scoring holes there, and the par threes, they're par holes. And, you think of Watson last year on Sunday, Paul, what is it, 13? He hit driver sand wedge, a par five. That's like John Hayes like.
Yeah, well,
anyway,
for those who don't know, it's a very short hole. It's all that hole is about where you put your drive, and if you miss the drive, you have no chance. And if you cream the ball, it's a right to left dog leg, and if you cream the ball over that ridge and bring it around or draw it, I guess I'm trying to say, you're in good shape.
Yeah, no, he's unbelievable, Bubba. I thought you also made a tremendous point about Tiger Woods learning the PR game. I've always, in my opinion, Paul, I've always blamed his image on Nike, his handlers, IMG, his agents. I guess he's kind of learning.
And by the way, Rich, his father didn't help either. Tiger was honored many, many years ago, and I happened to find myself at the event, and I sat with his father, and his father was a character. But you put a couple of shooters down his throat, and he would say anything.
Yeah, but contrast him, though, Paul. This is what I wanted to ask you. Contrast him to what I feel is a false narrative about Phil Mickelson's an angel and Tiger's a devil. I mean, think about some of the things that Phil Mickelson has done. Here's a guy who signs a lot of autographs. Everybody thinks he's the greatest guy in the world. Yeah, could you imagine if Tiger Woods would have been investigated for insider trading? Now, one of them, he's been cleared. There's still one on Dean Foods where he's not. He ripped Tom Watson after the Ryder Cup. Beyond, he embarrassed the team. He switched clubs in 2004 before the Ryder Cup. I mean, if you look at some of what Woods did, which I'm not condoning his personal behavior between the relationship between him and his wife, and then you contrast it to what Phil has done, and then look at the public perception of both of them.
No, Phil has built a career on having the perfect family, and remember he flew back a couple of years ago. I think he was in contention at the U.S. Open, was he not? And he flew cross country to watch his daughter play soccer or something. Tiger. They're totally different type of people, but I know golfers on tour that can't stand Phil Mickelson, and they say that not a lot of people like him. That comes with fame. I mean, you're either a Phil person or a Tiger person back in the day, not anymore, because neither one of them are a weekly threat like they used to be.
Well, guess who the players like better?
I suspect it may be Tiger.
There's no question.
Yeah.
There's no question, too. And Phil's gotten better as he's gotten older. I will say that. I do like the guy. I don't want people to think I'm just ripping him. But I do like him. But he made a lot of mistakes when he was younger, just like Tiger. It just seems to me the public perception, the smiling, the autographs, all the family stuff, that he gets a pass where Woods gets crucified. That's just my opinion.
Well, Woods did something else that I think irritated a lot of the old guard Rich, and he threatened Nicholas, and that didn't go over very well with the Geritol set.
Yeah, but he didn't threaten him. I mean,
No. Well, I mean, let me correct myself. He didn't threaten him personally. He threatened his reputation or the moniker of being the greatest golfer of all time. And I remember being in Augusta, Tiger's first year that he won in 1997, and I mean, you could walk around, and there was a lot of uneasiness he won by 12 shots. People thought he was going to win the Masters every year, and it's amazing it's not amazing that he won 4. It's amazing that he's only won 4.
Right, especially after that year. That was a seminal moment in American sports, in my opinion.
No doubt.
Hey, real quick, Paul, who do you like?
I'm going to be pretty boring here and go with Rory.
I don't find that to be boring at all. I mean, obviously he didn't play well in Florida, but before then, if you look at his numbers, he was amazing before then. But I think that's a good pick. All right, buddy, thanks for taking my call.
Thank you very much. Good to hear from you.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Talking a little bit about golf, and I know that's one of your favorite sports, man.
Paul, I'm glad you brought that up, because I may be one of the I'm probably the only regular caller to this program that has graced the grounds of Augusta. I was there in '96, year before Tiger won. And
that was the year Nick Faldo won.
Practice round. Yeah. Exactly. I was over there as a practice round, but we walked every hole. And when I hope you don't ever ask me to spell Wojo's name, because I was looking at that on TV, and that's a lot of letters.
I did I did a book with the man, and I still look up his name every time I have to write him something.
And I just looked in the library part of my house in the book, and his name takes up the whole length of the book. I mean, you got My Conference Can Beat Yours, Paul Finebaum, and then underneath it is Gene Wojciechowski from top to bottom. But anyway, when he was talking about the concessions, it's funny. You can tote $200 worth of groceries out of the grocery store in plastic bags, but I don't think you could tote $20 worth of concessions from over there. It's a beautiful place. You can't even set the grain on your TV to what you see over there. But let's move on. Alabama's their coach going to get the one-and-done players when the Bama fans are calling up and say, the one-and-dones are killing the game. Well, you are one-and-done, Bama. Hush. There's no reason to talk. And, Paul, I tell you what, I mentioned it yesterday. Lance comes in, and whether you like it or not, he painted your house and your fence, and you didn't even get a chance to pick the color. He done come and gone and was through, and the paint was dry when you got away in edgeways, and you was trying to catch your breath. Because he was overwhelming. Now, let's move on to this bracket. Because there's Phyllis and myself and Tammy and Charles. And you know what? In order to compete, you must be there. You got to take the shot. You got to set the play.
I agree with you. I'm ready to declare. I'm ready to declare you the winner.
Absolutely. Who else has come in? I am the mayor of the callers.
Hey, by the way, I have declared you the winner, but unfortunately, I've been told you have lost to Phyllis.
Well, but you know what? I think the world of Tammy, Charles, and Phyllis. But you got to come in here and you got to bring something, and you can't have excuses.
But you had to. You had to beat a number 1 seed to get there.
Absolutely, I was the lowest seed, and it's an upset, Paul. It's a complete upset. I am the mayor of the regular callers on this program, and for anybody saying my name, you say Mayor Iman, or we going to the boulevard. Have a great day.
Yeah, I forgot Iman didn't even make the finals. I was ready to declare him the winner, and he's already out of it. Anyway, that's where it is, and I'm pretty close. I think I know who the winner of this is going to be, guys.
Well, Paul, we set the stage. We said if we don't hear from Phyllis, and Charles has been strong in the last couple of weeks, he may take the crown.
Yeah, I'd say Phyllis is down to her last 20 minutes on that. Selena is up next. Selena, thank you for the call.
Well, thank you for taking my call. How's life post-basketball working for you?
Quite well, thank you.
Well, that's good. I wanted to call up and mention a couple of things. First off, I enjoyed the conversation with Coach Spurrier today. I found it interesting, though, that in Columbia, Spurrier is doing cartwheels over a 7-6 season with a bowl win.
I agree, including losing to your number one rival.
Yeah, that must have been a banner year. But, maybe my definitions are different from his. But the main reason I called is because of something that the gentleman from Connecticut said when he was calling a little bit ago about the UConn women's basketball program and the rivalry with Tennessee. And I was raised, in Tennessee, so I've been taught to be respectful to my elders, which has completely shortened the length of this call. However, there weren't any imaginary recruiting violations on UConn's part. As a matter of fact, yes, it was a recruiting deal from what I understand, and the NCAA did find a secondary violation on UConn's part. I don't really care about all that. Taking a basketball player to see ESPN studios isn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. What is the big deal, however, is the way that Oriana acted and continues to act towards Pat Summitt and the University of Tennessee to this day, because our current coach spoke to him, June 2013, I guess, at the Hall of Fame induction about bringing the series back. And at that time, he said that he wouldn't do so unless he got an apology from the University of Tennessee. And I don't know what happens in
Well,
Connecticut.
Selena, with all due respect, unfortunately, Tennessee is kind of moving in the wrong direction. I don't know why Gino would really care about that game at the moment. I mean, how long has it been since Tennessee's won a national championship? 2008?
Yep, it's been 2008.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
I mean, you have to get to the Final Four to win, and Tennessee just can't seem to get there any longer. So, I mean, I'm not defending Gino. I mean, I love Pat Summitt like you do, but I'm not sure that's really the big rivalry anymore in women's college basketball.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Bubba is up next in Florida. Hey, Bubba.
Hey, how you doing, Paul? Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
It is beautiful here, Paul, on Pensacola Beach. But to start with, everybody on the panhandle of Florida is behind Bubba Watson. A lot of people don't know Bubba Watson is part owner of the Cincinnati Reds AA affiliate, Pensacola Wahoos, which has the best minor league stadium in all of Major League Baseball, minor league baseball. And so that's great. And we're happy, Paul, we get you on ESPN Pensacola here. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Alabama football.
Okay, sure.
Well, Paul, I think Nick Saban is, he's getting away from what really made Nick Saban good and famous was great defense, a quarterback not to lose the game, but he don't have to win it. But now they're not playing that good a defense, and you're asking a quarterback to win the football game. And they're just not doing a real good job of developing quarterbacks, which is hard for me to understand. And then the field goal kicking situation, when you got them number one recruiting classes, you would think they could land a guy that would just be awesome at kicking field goals, but they're really struggling developing players and getting they put too much pressure on the quarterback when the real problem is defense and special teams. They can win running the football, playing great defense and great special teams is how Nick Saban's made his name.
So let's cut to the chase here, Bubba, because hold on a second, Bubba.
Yes.
Let's chisel it down because we have a long way to go before football season. So if you had to put your finger on what Saban's biggest issue right now is, what is it?
His biggest issue right now, I think, is defense.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's obvious. I mean, but do you think it can be corrected?
They've always had shutdown defenses.
Listen, Bubba, they don't. I mean, you know how you get shutdown defenses? You have shutdown corners. You have defensive linemen like Saban had in his first couple of years, and he keeps.
Well, you got to develop them too, Paul. They're landing them. They got the number one recruiting class, but they're not developing them.
Hey, there's a difference, Bubba, between landing them and having the right ones. I mean, sometimes you miss, and I'm not talking about Saban. I'm talking about the recruiting gurus. There is a difference between players. Listen, I don't know what the problem is.
I agree with that.
I don't know what the problem is, but I would agree that even though Alabama went into the national semifinals last year as the number one team in the country, there has been a missing link the last 2 or 3 years. And the question now is, can Saban get it back? Larry, who will have a stadium named after him one of these days. Larry, how are you?
Hey, Mr. Finebaum, how you get along today?
Okay, buddy.
Hey, great. Hey, that took me a long time. I finally figured out who old Lance reminds me of. Really, he's just a young Teddy. I mean, he says the exact same thing every stinking day. It doesn't make any sense. The basketball's over. I mean, this dude going to call when Alabama, Georgia play and talk about this Kentucky. I mean, he's close to being off the radar, no doubt about it. Hey, as far as Geno, this guy, he can win 20 championships, and he ain't going to ever be nothing. I mean, if it wasn't for Pat Summitt, this dude wouldn't even have a format to even talk. I mean, he should thank her every day that he wakes up. I mean, I don't care how many. Hey, and as far as I'm glad you're talking about golf, I know it ain't big down in the South, but I agree with Rich from Atlanta. Lefty, that old fake cheesy smile, it ain't fooling nobody. I mean, he's dirty. He ain't fooling nobody. But it still doesn't take away the fact that Tiger Woods is just a complete ass. I mean, you're right about his dad, Earl Woods. One time he said he'd be bigger than Gandhi, but really he ain't even bigger than Mo Bandy. I mean, that dude, he ain't nothing either. And as far as the last thing I'll say, fantastic interview with old ball coach. Made you feel footballs in the air. I mean, it was the best thing I'd heard on here in the last 6 months. I mean, fantastic. But the only sad thing was that even what the dude, 90 years old, he sounded way more coherent than Avery Johnson. That's the problem.
Oh, my. Well, I think Avery may have just simply been talked out. He had a couple of talking points, and I think he was running on fumes.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Brian is up next in Kentucky. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
I just really wanted to talk about over the past, ever since Duke's won the national championship, about how everyone has praised him so much for taking freshmen to win the national championship. But anytime Calipari does anything with freshmen, he gets criticized for ruining the game of basketball. You know, being a huge Kentucky fan, living here, having to listen to Louisville fans all the time about ACC this, ACC that. I mean, when's it ever going to end?
Well, it's not with Cal. I mean, I think had UK won the title this year, Brian, I think it would have been a little bit easier. That was going to get it off his back. People were going to celebrate Hall of Fame, Coach of the Year. It was the perfect storm. Unfortunately, the heat will remain on him.
I mean, we look at Coach K, and he's reinventing the game of basketball all of a sudden. You know, smiling, and I'm just, you know, being a Kentucky fan, you can't be a Duke fan. So
no, you can't.
It's always been a hate relationship with us anyway, and just seeing them win, you know, even at halftime during the game, you know, when fouls wasn't going his way, you know, he complained there at halftime of his little interview, and then you look in the second half, Wisconsin didn't have hardly any fouls. So it always just seems like it's always Coach K's way.
Thank you for the call. It's amazing. Kentucky lost one game, nearly had a perfect season, nearly had a national championship, and fans finding a lot of fault elsewhere right now. Smooth is up next in Alabama. Hey, Smooth.
Hi, Bob. How you doing?
Okay, buddy.
Hey, long time listener, man. I don't call enough, but I got an issue with these guys, man, that's leaving college early, you know, to enter into the pros. Now, I don't want to count nobody money, and I don't want to tell nobody how to make their money. But it's just entirely too many of those kids leaving early, man, and only just to go to the D-League. And not even a third of those guys even make it up to the NBA. I just feel like, you know, they need to put stipulations on those guys like they put on the football team, and don't let them go before their junior year. What you think about that?
Well, I mean, let me state again, this is an NBA rule. The Krzyzewskis and Caliparis of the world simply play by those rules. They don't make the rules. I don't like it, but on the other hand, I agree with Cal. At the end of the day, if you're a smart guy coming out of high school or go to college for a year and decide to drop out and start Microsoft or Apple Computer, good luck. Go after it, or Facebook for that matter, like the Zuckerman. kids. So I just don't like I don't like saying you have to go this number of years. I mean, I know that's the way it is in the NFL. It's a great rule. It works pretty well. But the NFL doesn't want players coming from high school. And by the way, they're not ready to come. Some are in basketball, as you well know.
But Paul, the industry is proving that I'm talking about more than 2/3 of these guys are not ready going into.
No, well, no, you're right. You're right, Smooth. But there are some who are.
A select few. Now, I would say probably 3 or 4, out of 15. You do the math. That percentage, that's not a good percentage to me. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm not trying to count nobody's money.
No, but I can't remember the guy's name, Smooth. I saw about 10 years ago, I remember some player from Auburn came out early in football. He wasn't even drafted. I mean, mistakes are made even after 3 years in college football as well. I don't like it, but it's just the way it is, and it's not. I don't see it changing. I think it's better. I think it's better 1 year than none, but it's still pretty crummy. We're in agreement on that.
Okay, let me get your opinion on this here. Now,
okay.
If they had implemented that rule that they couldn't leave before their junior year, wouldn't you think the game of the NCAA basketball, wouldn't it be greater than what it is now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the NBA is a pretty great, is a pretty popular sport at the moment.
Yeah, but the D League is not really producing. I'm not going to hold it up any longer than that, but I just want to state my opinion about that.
Well, I'm glad you did. And by the way, I mean, Smooth, you make some really good points. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just simply stating the way it is. But thanks for the call. Katie in Lexington is up next. What do you say, Katie?
Oh, hey, Paul. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
This one and done thing, I guess I'm trying to grasp it from, the criticisms are escalating so high, and I know that it's real crafty when the coach or analyst get that stab in. Frank did it right. Bo Ryan does it right. And, Cal gambled and he won. We won. We changed it in 2012 that you can win with some freshmen. But I guess I'm trying to understand the point of view of the player. What are they supposed to do? Are we supposed to say, oh, hey, Carl Anthony Towns, play down a little because you're a freshman and we don't want to show up the senior? And then you look at scouting reports, what the Harrisons probably have looked at, the fact that a reputable scout has come out and said they would have gone higher right out of high school. So what are the boys? They're kind of in a 22. No matter what they do, the criticism is there, and I guess being from Kentucky, I'm.
Well, no, but listen, Kay, you're right, and I couldn't get a job doing anything coming out of high school. I needed a college education. These guys don't, and it's been stated many times before. They're going to make millions of dollars, and if they don't, they'll find some place to play basketball until they do, or eventually they won't, and then they can go back to school.
I love like Jay Billis is finally. He says, let's quit calling them one and done and just say they're going to their next job. And I appreciate that fact. But I guess I do have a problem when Rick Pitino's interviewed yesterday, and granted, he was nice about Kentucky, but he got his jab in. Frank did it the right way. Dino came on Andy Katz's show. Bo Ryan develops. He does it the right way at Wisconsin. Well, why is that the right way? And I would love to ask Bo Ryan, so you're telling me if the number one guy that's a for sure one and done wants to come play for you next year, you're not going to take him because you want to do it perceived the right way? I mean, probably the best thing for Kentucky is that Duke won, and now because Duke and King Mike, they did it this way, it seemed right and okay, whereas if Kentucky's doing it, and I get it, I get when you're the history and the story program that we are, that it's a whole lot more fun for everyone to figure out how to beat us. I'm not sure everyone has fun on the championship night because I think most people were looking for Duke, Kentucky. after we spent 3 weeks in handicap,
everyone wanted Duke and Kentucky. I mean, that. I know that.
I don't know. You're not going to be watching that, but for 5 hours, and of course I fed through commercials, thank goodness. But every coach he asked, how do you get Kentucky? To the point you could tell the coaches were sick of it. Okay, it's over. You've asked 64 of us. We're done. So I don't know. I'm just saying. I liked the comment yesterday when they said, "Yeah, we liked the upset, but did everybody really like the next game with Mercer? You know, it was fun when they beat Duke, but was it really that fun the next game? No, probably not." So anyway, thanks for my call. I guess I'm feeling for the boys because I don't know what can they do. They're in the catch-22. You know, they're going to be criticized for going.
Katie, all they can do is gamble that they'll make tens of millions of dollars, and if they don't, then they took a gamble.
But if they stay,
who wouldn't take that gamble?
Young.
Listen.
Well,
everyone.
It is a gamble. Patrick Young stayed.
Sure.
Young stayed at Florida, and his game got picked apart to be
You're right.
ridiculous.
No, listen, Katie, I would. There's no question. I would do it. And that's what Calipari is trying to enunciate. As far as what people say about Krzyzewski, I understand the frustration, but he's a sacred cow. But he's also earned that position with his record and his resume. He's put his money where his mouth is.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
We're joined by Booger McFarland, the star of SEC Now, who is in Oxford, Mississippi, on this early April day. Booger, I'm a little confused. I checked the pairings. I thought you and Tiger were about to tee off at Augusta.
Paul, you have no idea how I would love for that to be so, especially this time of year. Springtime, Augusta, what a wonderful place. I've been there a few times, and there's no better place in America I'd rather be this week than Augusta. But right now, I have to settle for Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah, well, you're talking to a guy who's covered Augusta many, many times outside the ropes. I've only dreamed about playing. I understand through a source that you're a regular over there. Tell us all about it.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a regular. I've been very, very fortunate. I've played the course 3 times, and it's everything that you hear about. Unbelievable. Everything is immaculate. There's not a piece of grass out of place, Paul. And for me, it was a dream come true. I love golf. The game of golf has allowed me to meet a lot of people. And when you get to Augusta, the peacefulness, being serene, everything that goes on there is unbelievable. And then on top of that, the golf course is pretty good, too.
Yeah, not bad. Well, anyway, you are, unless you're wearing a green jacket, I can see through the camera, it looks pretty tan. We'll move on to your best sport, which is football. And give us your view of Ole Miss. You've been there a couple of days. You're certainly capturing the mood of what was one of the biggest stories last year in college football, but will they be this year?
Well, I think if you're looking at Ole Miss this year, Paul, everything has to start with the quarterback position. Gone is Bo Wallace, and now they have a 3-man race. You talk about Devontae Kincaid, Ryan Buchanan, and Chad Kelly. Which quarterback is going to step up? And right now, I think there's a slight edge for Buchanan. He's the more prolific pocket passer. He's the guy that can get the football to Laquan Treadwell and Quincy Adebayo, and those are going to be the primary weapons on the outside. Now, I do think Kelly is more of a dynamic figure. I think he brings a lot to the table. I think Kincaid is going to be used in kind of a sub-package, maybe in the Wildcat situation where you're trying to get a tough yard or two there, but there's no doubt about it. Everything in Oxford right now is about the quarterback, and if you'd ask me today, I think Buchanan has the edge over the other two.
Let's move on to Hugh Freeze, and as I mentioned, everyone loves Hugh Freeze. The Rebels were one of the big stories in the game. They beat Mississippi State after a tough couple of weeks, but it ended badly in the bowl game. What's the mood and what's the attitude of this football program as it moves forward?
Well, I think the attitude right now is they just don't know. They had a tremendous year, but as you said, against TCU in the bowl game, I mean, they got their butt handed to them. And that was kind of the message that I told Coach Freeze yesterday. I said, Coach, you had a great year, but are you going to rest on your laurels? Are you going to sit back and say last year was good enough for Mississippi football, or are you going to do something different? And he told me quite elegantly, we're trying to change it, and we're trying to change it on the offensive side of the football. They're going to pick the tempo up offensively, Paul. They're going to try to run the football better because you know as well as I know, me, you, and John could run the football better than Ole Miss last year. They could not run it dead last in the SEC, and I think this year there's an emphasis on what he's called a dirty run. And what a dirty run is defined in Oxford right now is any run that's positive 0, 1, or 2 yards. That's a dirty, tough run. He said, I can coach offense from 2nd and 8. I can't coach offense from 2nd and 12.
Booger, the defense, the Land Sharks was certainly the highlight of that program last year. What do they look like this year? I'm assuming pretty good.
Well, they're going to be led by a front four. There's going to be no doubt about it. I think it's the best front four in the conference. When you talk about Robert Kimdiche, Isaac Gross, Fadal Brown, those guys are going to be dominant up front. one distinct move they're making, Paul. They're moving C.J. Johnson, who was their edge rusher. They're making a move, moving him to linebacker. It's an unprecedented move for a guy to go from defensive end to linebacker, but he's going to be kind of the guy that's going to be the catalyst of the defense. They're going to be led by up front, but they're trying to get their best 11 guys on the field, and moving C.J. Johnson from defensive end to middle linebacker is going to allow them to do that. A guy to look for in the secondary, C.J. Hampton. I realize Cody Pruitt, those guys, Sinquez Golson, are gone, but C.J. Hampton is the guy that they're going to lean on big on the Landshark defense side of the football. So defense should still be good. New faces in different places, but they're going to fly to the football. They're going to play fast. And I think they're banking on their defense being just as good, maybe even better this year than it was in 2014.
5-3 in the SEC, that epic win over Alabama, but they let it slip away after that. What's your best guess on the Rebels this year?
I think it's all going to be dependent on how they run the football. Last year, Ole Miss was prolific on offense. They averaged almost 30 points a game, or over 30 points a game. How are they going to do it any different this year? They had a dominant defense. I think this year they have to run the football. We can talk about A&M. We can talk about Auburn. We can talk about high-flying offenses. Paul, you know as well as I know. In this conference, you got to play great defense, which Ole Miss did last year, and you got to run the football. And Ole Miss didn't run the football. So if they can run the football this year, I think they can win 9 or 10 games this year. But it's all going to be dependent on can Ole Miss be physical and run the football. If they can do that, I think they can have a successful year.
Booger McFarland making a tour of the SEC. That means one thing, Booger. Football season not here yet, but it's getting a lot closer.
It's on the way, Paul, and I can't wait. But in the meantime, I'm going to put my golf clubs back in the action.
Appreciate it, Booger. Good to talk to you as always.
All good, P. Diddy. Take it easy.
Thank you for listening to the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast. Tune into the Paul Finebaum Show every day from 3 to 7 Eastern on the SEC Network or on the ESPN Radio app.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
ESPN Radio, bringing you directly to the biggest events in sports.
Center field, well hit, Hunter back, out of here!
From opening day of baseball,
Throw to the plate, safe at the plate!
Right through the World Series.
For the third time in 5 seasons, the San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
Whether it's LeBron, Chris Paul, or Kevin Durant, when the NBA tips off, ESPN Radio is right there when a champion is crowned.
We have a new world champion. The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
And when the magic of bowl season arrives, ESPN Radio is your home for the new college football playoff.
The college football playoff first national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
The biggest events in sports can be found right here on ESPN Radio. Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals.
That one is gone.
The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.